So won't you please put the windows back on?
Keep an Eye Out, or Au Poste, is written and directed by French filmmaker Quentin Dupieux, who was originally known as an electronic musician under the pseudonym Mister Oiseau, but within the last decade has become a full-fledged director, this being now his 6th feature-length film. What are the staples of a Quentin Dupieux film? I'd break it down into 2 elements. The first one being an absurdist sense of humor, and the second one being that it generally exists in a space that is outside of reality, where things operate on a dreamlike logic, where you fully recognize that things are strange, but you're fully powerless to sort of question them because you're dreaming. In this sense, his most important film that very much exposes his authorial stamp would be Rubber, which was released around 2010, in which he essentially explains to the spectator his entire philosophy, and his disdain for the spectator's needs to have films make any logical sense.
In the Steven Spielberg movie E.T., why is the alien brown? No reason.
He then proceeds to make a film all about a sentient homicidal tire that falls in love with Roxane Mesquida. Since his 2007 directorial debut Steak, every single one of his films takes place in the US. And even that one is chock full of American imagery. Essentially, it is a play on a US high school movie. And so because he's a foreigner, because he has this strange sensibility, his films almost feel like they're made by an alien trying to replicate an American film, and that's really what makes them great. Reality, his previous film, which was released in 2014, is magnificent. He manages to blend Lynchian and Cronenbergian imagery with Tim and Eric-style humor, without being derivative and actually being extremely personal and unmistakably a Dupieux film. Au Poste was exciting because his previous film was so damn good, but also because it's the first time he's trying to make a film that is so French. It's all French actors, or Belgian actors, but they operate so much within the French cinematic industry that whenever they are in a French film, you essentially consider them as French. The movie's dialogue is entirely in French, and it also takes place in France. The plot centers around a police investigation. Fugain, played by Grégoire Ludig, is a suspect in a murder case led by Commissaire Buron, played by Benoît Poelvoorde, who international audiences will most likely be familiar with his breakout role in the dark Belgian classic Man Bites Dog. The movie is essentially a late-night conversation between our 2 main characters, intercut with flashback scenes of the suspect giving his account of what happened. It's a very straightforward story and premise that serves as a realistic-ish backdrop for Dupieux's outlandish and absurdist sense of humor. Because the film is an extended conversation with very little in the way of scenery changes and action, the writing and the dialogue has to be solid, and it is fantastic. It's perfectly in line with his previous film, Reality, which was mostly in French as well, maybe even surpassing it in terms of the wit and the sharpness in the dialogue. There are so many running jokes that aren't even called to attention. They're just there for you to notice them or not, which makes actually listening to the film and paying close attention so rewarding. He proves he's an absolute master in using the French language in a way that's real, which I would call movie real. Not realistic in the way people speak, but in a way you've heard dialogue in countless other French films, especially in the era from 1950 to 1980. It almost seems like it takes place out of time, whether it be in the way people speak, like I just mentioned, or in their clothing and hairstyles, in the fact that the police officers are still using typewriters, yet they have cell phones, and someone even mentions the internet. One thing that contributes to this is the locations in which they choose to shoot. The police station, in particular, is amazing. It's all shot in the old headquarters of the French Communist Party in Paris. It's all gray cement walls with the entirety of the ceiling covered in lights. It makes for a very interesting color palette that's super gray and brown that tints the film with almost a natural sepia old-school look. It perfectly embodies this 1970s European socialist architecture that is both grandiose and frightening, beautiful and ugly, which in a way perfectly embodies Dupieux's work in general, with beauty and grotesque all being one and the same. All of this contributes to something that feels profoundly French. Not the postcard Amélie bullshit for tourist France, but real lived-in middle-class France, a France that's kind of shitty and boring and mediocre. Everyone in the film is quite wonderful, but I really want to highlight the 2 leads. They're both great, and they're great in a way they complement each other and make the other actor look great. Particularly in the case of Grégoire Ludwig's character, who plays it pretty straight, and is very much reacting to what's going on in a way that feels sensible and allows the spectator to empathize with him as he observes what's going on around him and is completely befuddled by the general incompetency of the police department. This allows us to stick with him as his story becomes more and more outlandish. It also allows Poelvoorde, on the other hand, to shine as the impolite and ridiculous detective, who, as the film progresses, is still ridiculous and weird, but not as bad at his job as maybe we've been led to believe. The two work off each other perfectly, and Poelvoorde delivers a career-high performance. And I haven't even mentioned yet how the movie utilizes the classic, very time-tested flashback, which get progressively stranger and complex as Fugain starts running into people that he'll meet in the precinct later in the future and starts commenting on the fact that they shouldn't be in his memories. He even starts engaging with them and talking to them about this in a very metafictional kind of way. And as a spectator, you start to question reality, no pun intended. Not real-world reality, but the reality within this movie. It stimulates the imagination to the multiple possibilities of where the film could go, and keeps the intrigue really exciting. The film is superb, until the last 10 minutes when, unfortunately, it kind of falls off a cliff.
Okay, so this is my spoiler install video. So if you like this video, please comment, rate, and subscribe. But that's what it looks like on my 2008 Mitsubishi Lancer.
The film builds tension with a dead body, a cop who dies accidentally while keeping an eye out on Fugain, which Fugain then hides. The tension rises throughout the film, and it works perfectly. All of a sudden, as we near the climax of the film, the curtain raises. It was all a play. Fugain doesn't get it, and neither do we. It's kind of lame. It's very much the "it was all a dream" equivalent way to end your movie. All of a sudden, they're all at dinner, where everyone in the play is recapping their own performances, and Fugain, who really wasn't in on the fact that he was being part of a play, doesn't understand. They both get out of the restaurant, and Poelvoorde puts the cuffs back on Fugain, puts him back into the police car, and then we cut to the end. So, it was all a play, but maybe it wasn't. The idea that everything we just watched was part of a play sort of undercuts everything that came before it. The flashbacks, especially. Now, Dupieux could argue that it doesn't matter whether it doesn't make narrative sense. I mean, no reason, right?
The film you are about to see today is an homage to the no reason, that most powerful element of style.
You've created this space where anything goes, where people eat oyster shells and then comment on the fact they're existing within flashbacks, and then you end it on something that is very down to earth. Oh, it was all a play. It was all a dream. It's really disappointing. I was mentioning previously how the film puts you in a mindset where you feel like anything's possible, but then to bring it down like that, it reeks of Quentin Dupieux not knowing how to end the film and then just copping out by going, "It was all a dream. Oh, well, I can't do that because that's kind of lame. Well, how about if it was all a play?" And then he himself realizes that, well, yeah, that's kind of lame. So then he undercuts his own twist, and by that point, he's lost me, and I don't really care anymore. Poste is a brilliant film that is let down by a lousy ending. It sort of leaves you on a low. I'd be willing to bet, though, that it's very rewatchable and extremely rewarding on multiple views. And that knowing where it's going probably makes the ultimate letdown much easier to swallow. So as always, thanks very much for watching the video. Be sure to hit the like button if you like the review, and make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed yet, and until next time, see you soon.